Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, this one has caught me by surprise. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, someone was saying in stream last night, aren't you doing the Ice Golem event? And I was like, well, I'm going after Reflex gear. He's like, yeah, but aren't you not doing this? I was like, well, they've all been crap. Anyway, I've looked into it and I'm like, damn, there's actually a legendary tome here. And then I look down my group and it's saddened to see that nobody's doing it. Probably because either they don't have the undead hordes or whatever. I just want to do a video here to show you some options on a bit of a budget in terms of doing this. I feel like it's actually more achievable than people think. 2,100 points is about 2,000 to 2,500 energy worth of fighting. I've got to say there's not many things in the game where you would get a legendary tome for that type of level of energy. So think again, we've got one day, probably by the time I put this video out, to rectify this. Let's get this done. Let's get our legendary steel tome. And it might not be that we create the quickest teams in the world, but I think we can create some teams which are quite comfortable. And that's the main thing you want an Ice Golem, is comfortable wins. Now, luckily, we all picked up this fella recently. Yeah, we should all have him, right? Ultimate Death Knight. If you are anywhere towards mid-game, you'll be able to do this type of build. So I'm running Toxic Gear and Perception. Basically, what I want to do is land toxic hits to get poisons out there and do damage throughout my runs. I've taken all of my accessories off so that it kind of rectifies the fact that I've got a great haul. I do have War Master in this build. We do have a couple of the support tree here. Things like Arcane Celerity to boost my turn meter. Master Hexer to try and get my poisons from the Toxic Gear to last for longer. Things like what's this one called? Spirit Haste, where people die, you gain more speed. Whirlwind of Death, more speed. Wrath of the Slain, more damage. War Master to actually do a bit of damage along the way. He's got a self-heal and shield, which means that he should be able to tank up the waves really well. But for Ice Golem, I don't feel like he quite does it solo without a lot better stats. Probably like me needing to whack on all of my artifacts and go much higher gear. So I'm thinking bring in a supporting act in the shape of someone like a Vogoth. Again, I've stripped my Vogoth a little bit bare just so that you can kind of get somewhere close to what he's doing. I've not really changed his build other than taking some stuff off him. But he's got a Giant Slayer here. He's got high HP, okay speed, and he's got enough accuracy to land his Provoke, which is going to be quite useful for us. So I'm going to show you that duo first, and then I'll show you some other champions coming in to try and speed the run up, because this will be pretty slow. So yeah, stage 20, I think, is where it will be at for most people. Ultimate Death Knight is actually negative affinity here. It doesn't matter. Affinity doesn't change your chance of landing poisons. It does mean you might take a bit more damage. So if you need to drop down to 19 because you can't do it, that's cool as well. Or if you just want to speed it up, that's cool as well. I guess you could try and push on to like 24 or 25 if you wanted to. But it might just mean that the runs are quite a bit longer. So you just want to sort by affinity here, or by faction, sorry. Sort by faction. Make sure that you only grab food champions within the same faction. Where are we? Right near the end. For the undeads. Here we go. Yeah, so make sure your food champions. He does need food. He benefits from food dying. So just get some squishies in there to help him out. And then away you go. Now, it's a slow and steady. I'm going to be honest, yeah? We're not going to be setting any world records here. But someone like Vogoth putting out his Provoke, probably should just save that for round 2, maybe. The two front ladies are annoying. Yeah, they do put out block debuffs. It does slow your run down. So they are frustrating. But we're just trying to whittle our way through. Get some damage away. And every hit actually hits Ultimate Death Knight. So I guess it doesn't matter who you bring in as food initially. They're all going to survive until wave 2. But you can see we're just kind of like smash our way through these. The more I think about it, the more I'm just thinking, stuff bringing a 2-man squad in. Why don't we just bring in a bunch of frozen banshees? Or poisoners anyway. But yeah, anyway, we'll start to smack through these. They'll die eventually. And then we kind of get ourselves to wave 2. And wave 2, we definitely benefit from the Vogoth, because I think Ultimate Death Knight alone would struggle with wave 2. It's annoying because he's actually fine on the boss, but yeah, wave 2 is quite frustrating with that Shriek ability coming out, doing actually a ton of damage. So anyway, I'll get us through to the boss. You can kind of see how this looks against the boss. We can have a look at what sort of times we're doing, and then we'll start just mixing in a couple of other champions to see if we can speed things up. I've got to say, once you get to the boss, it's actually really comfy. Yeah, comfy, cozy. You're not in any real risk at all. In fact, if you just had Ultimate Death Knight for the boss, you would also be in no risk at all. The only risk is that wave 2, where you've got the guys doing the Shriek. And yeah, this is damn slow. This is hella slow. And as I said at the beginning, like if you've got Bad L pumping out the boss, if you've got Frozen Banshee on the boss on her own, then you're going to do a ton more damage. But it's getting them to the boss, which is the hard thing. So this is like an accessible champion, accessible team for all. It doesn't really matter how long it's going to take you to farm this, as long as you're getting yourself that legendary book, set it up running on auto battles for the day, and get yourself that free legendary tome, which, as we know, is incredibly difficult to get. Yeah, they're hard to get. They generally cost you a lot of resources. We're talking about here basically running the best part of 2,000 to 2,500 energy worth of runs. It's still a lot. But if you're going to do it and grab yourself a legendary book, I'd say this is actually one that's worth doing. It's the only one I've seen out of these kind of like tournament rewards that I'd be like, yeah, go in on this one. Because we also know that the Epic Fusion is coming later this week, who's a good like mid-game champion, but not really a game changer for for most players. If you're like, I don't know, a few months in, then yeah, that Epic Fusion can be pretty solid. But honestly, I don't know, as soon as you get Scylla the Drakes, it feels like she's going to do the same job, but better. So if that fusion goes as they normally go, and you have to do it almost like at the same level as a standard fusion, I'd say it's not worth your time and energy and effort and shards and all of that stuff that kind of wraps around the outside of a fusion. So look, Ultimate Death Knight, slow as you like, slow and steady, the absolute tortoise of Ice Golem. But he will get you a free legendary tome if you can kind of put the effort in and put the time in. And ultimately, that's what you need. Yeah, just make sure that your food is also undead. Yeah, make sure you're using undead heroes for your food as well. If you're trying to speed it up, obviously you start to bring in some other champions. We've got Gordarab here, not necessarily speeding it up, but gives us a revive option. The wave should only do damage to Ultimate Death Knight, like right the way through. So as long as he's alive for the boss, we're good. Anyone else you're bringing is just kind of in there for the party. You could bring a Frozen Banshee. You could bring wave damage like Husk. You could bring wave damage like Dark Elhain. And you should, Vlad if you've got Vlad, Mashold if you've got Mashold, like any of the legendaries start to then just massively increase your speed. Nephril, absolutely amazing here. Bad L is another kind of massive improvement over everybody because he's also a solo champion. If you can get Bad L to the boss, we're then talking stage 24, 25 being easily done. If you've got yourself a Crypt King, then he can do it with Ultimate Death Knight duo really easily. So yeah, there's the legendaries obviously massively kind of upscale you. And one of the ones that's worth calling out here is Euros, who's, I think he's the second champion from Doom Tower. He puts poisons out there as he's hit. So this dude also insanely good for like the boss part of the battle. In fact, let's throw him in instead of Frozen Banshee, but she would be good for the boss part of the battle as well. Let's bring in our failsafe here, and then we go. Now, the cool thing about Ultimate Death Knight is he just absorbs all the damage. Yeah, so it doesn't matter who's taking hits. I guess for Euros in particular, Euros benefits from being hit. But you see here, anyone they go for, Ultimate Death Knight's like, chunk. Like, he's the one taking all of that damage. And, yeah, it just means that all of these single target hits were kind of good. If you've got any legendaries with Brimstone on, that's going to speed up your runs as well. And you'll find, I guess find your stage. Stage 20, I'd say, is kind of decent because you're going to do it relatively quickly. But there's also no reason why you couldn't punch on to 24, 25 with a similar team if you've got a squad you're bringing in. Yeah, if you're just trying to like 1 or 2 man it, then I'd say going above 20 is quite difficult to do without like the Bad L fellas. But if you're bringing in a squad, you might just be able to punch on and do a bit more work. Waves are still going to be pretty slow. There's a bit of a lack of decreased defense type champions in Undead. So unless you've, it just means that waves will be slow generally. So yeah, so we get onto the boss here. Obviously, someone like Euros here's got Brimstone. That's going to speed up the damage type of side of things. And really what we're looking for here is just to land poisons, land damage, which is going to go over time. Also, the decreased attack here is going to stop you taking the massive slams from the boss. And you're just whittling them down. So, you know, if I was bringing in nukers, a bit more like, I don't know, Dark Elhain, Vlad, any of those legendaries that I've spoken about, we would be here a lot quicker and we would finish the job a lot quicker. Yeah, it's just the way it is. So you kind of need to flex it depending on your roster, your champions, in terms of what you've got available. But definitely doable. It's definitely a farmable event. And, you know, for a legendary Steel Tome, actually well worth your while. Cool thing about Euros here is when he's hit, he actually put out poison. So, I don't know, maybe Frozen Banshee would have just straight up still done it quicker than Euros, thinking about it. Because Frozen Banshee just pumping poisons into him, whereas Euros needs to be hit. And actually, we're trying to slow him down on that type of stuff, so we're not really taking hits that fast. But Euros does give you a really good kind of like level of survivability here. One of the most annoying things about Ice Golem is trying to get yourself 100% teams. Yeah, you can just, even having Hust in the mix there can cause some shenanigans. But you can see we're just kind of ticking him down. It's going to end up being probably about a 6-minute run. Still slow, but you know, if you don't get a legendary tome out at the end of it, why not? I guess we'll just finish, try and do a bit of a quicker run here. Bringing in some damage champions. So we've got Bad El in here with poisons and healing for the team. We've got Mashal bringing in True Fears and damage, built in Savage Gear. We've got ourselves Dark Elhain, built in stun set, but built for damage. And then we've got Rotas doing a lot of sort of single target damage as well. I'm still brought in my Ultimate Death Knight here, just because on the boss, if I'm trying to do a quicker run, I still really want that AoE decrease attack. Yeah, just as a fail-safe, I maybe don't need it. Your ideal scenario actually for the boss is to get a Poisoner one-on-one with the boss. But yeah, I've not kind of built everybody to just drop down dead. So, you know, Bad El can solo the boss very comfortably. He struggles to get onto the boss very comfortably without very good gear. He is quite quick in resistance gear for me right now. But here we go. We're going to continue our way through the mobs. I mean, I think it's probably going to still take me, even in decent gear here, the best part of 2 minutes to get onto the actual boss. But Rotas starts to put in work. Rotas can also block revive the side adds. Blocking, if 2 of the side adds go down, then with block revive, then it's a cakewalk. But obviously that takes a bit of time to do. But actually, probably quicker than I thought, taking down these waves. Thought it was going to be 2 minutes onto the boss. It might end up being, you know, best, maybe it's still 1:45 or something. But everyone's doing work here. Everyone's putting out damage. I didn't bring Hust into this one because the enemy max HP on the boss is just dangerous. Yeah, it can just spike you into massive hits against you, which is nasty. Here we go. Rotas needs to kind of stack up his health again with his A2, which he's doing there. Once he's stacked up his health, he can start doing his block revive hits. Obviously, it's a little bit down to RNG and luck, whether you get them away at the right time. We still take chunky old hits. Even with that decreased attack on, this boss hits hard. It's a nasty, nasty fight, this one. Really wanted to see a block revive there. Maybe he's not quite stacked it up yet. But obviously, we didn't do enough damage anyway. But Rotas actually becomes probably one of the tankiest people in my team. It's nuts. Should see a block revive hit next time he goes in for one. But yeah, I think it's going to be the best part of still maybe still a 4-minute run. Poisons definitely help. Poisons are where it's at in terms of chunking some damage down on this boss. Comes his big slam. We actually got an extra hit there because she got frozen, but she wipes the freeze off and just goes again. So Dark Elhain bringing in the clutch smacks. And yeah, this is going to be a consistent team. It's not fast, but obviously it's a lot faster than waiting for the solo stuff that we were doing earlier. So yeah, I'll be running this now until I get myself a legendary book. And yeah, there you go. Doesn't even matter if a few of these die. I've got enough support type of setup here, even in Bad L on his own to solo the boss. Like, that's not a problem. The rest, and in fact, it might be quicker. If I set it up just so that he did that, it would probably be a quicker run. But you can see with when you start to bring in some of these other big champions, even though we didn't get a block revive off, it's still like a 3.5 minute run on stage 25. And, you know, that's what I'm going to run because I'm after reflex gear. So set up my auto battles and away we go. Anyway, there you go, guys. Make sure you get involved, though. This is something you don't want to be passing up. A free legendary book is actually pretty damn juicy. So, look, I've been Hell Hades. Have a good day. I'll catch you later.